Good afternoon and welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier, and thank you always for stopping by. Political reflections, well, it's a big set-piece weekend, isn't it? G20, Osaka Summit. This is the family photo. Last to arrive for the photo session, as he's wont to do, is President Putin. The tariff war will be having its second, and it's not a truce dinner this time, but second truce effort imminently. The first was in December, Buenos Aires, and simultaneous with that dinner, the Huawei CFO was being interdicted in Canada and remains under Canadian custody, awaiting a movement into the US. The meeting could decide the one's course for the rest of 2019. Where's that? 687.58, we've improved off those levels around 695. Zero Hedge carried a report yesterday. Beijing reveals demands to agree to trade war truce, including lifting of the Huawei ban. Citing a source, the SCMP reported that Xi's price for holding the meeting in Osaka was that Trump delay additional tariffs, which of course is a risk. The reality, though, is President Trump could always have a change of heart, the source said, but the truce cake seems to have been baked. In short, simply to agree to a ceasefire, Beijing demands that Trump concede to many of the currently implemented steps in the ongoing trade war in return for, well, nothing, which is his interpretation of it. If you're interested in understanding the character of Xi Jinping, the supreme leader of China, have a listen to the question and answer session from Mindspeak with Professor Howard French, when I specifically asked that question. And I still hark back to October, where the incident with the USS Decatur remains, in my mind, a precursor of the forward direction of travel. We might have rebounds on the way. This might be one this weekend, though I don't think so. Outstanding interview with President Putin by the Financial Times. This is Lionel Barber and Henry Foy. It's a long transcript, but let me give you the salient points. To put it bluntly, the situation has definitely become more dramatic and explosive, talking about the world. We certainly support Japan's presidency as for the development of modern technology, the information world, the information economy, as well as our Japanese colleagues' attention to matters such as longevity and the environment. All this is extremely important, and we will certainly support it and will take part in all these discussions. Mr. President, you've observed 4 American presidents at close quarters and maybe 5 you have had direct experience. So how is Mr. Trump different? We are all different. No two people are the same, just like there are no identical sets of fingerprints. The first US president I came into contact with was Bill Clinton. Generally, I viewed this as a positive experience. We established sufficiently stable and business-like ties for a short period of time because his tenure was already coming to an end. I was only a very young president then who had just started working. I continue to recall how he established partner-like relations with me. I remain very grateful to him for this. Mr. Trump is not a career politician. He has a distinct world outlook and vision of US national interests. He knows very well what his voters expect from him. He also met Theresa May, but before meeting her said this: Russia has been accused, and strange as it may seem, is still being accused of mythical interference in the US election. What happened in reality? Mr. Trump looked into his opponent's attitude to him and saw changes in American society, and he took advantage of this. He's asked, are you putting too many eggs in the China basket? First of all, we have enough eggs, but there are not that many baskets where these eggs can be placed. This is the first point. Over the past 25 years or so, the share of G7 countries in the global GDP has declined from 58% to 40%. We are self-sufficient. We are confident Russia is the largest continental power. North Korea, we think about guarantees, which we should use as the basis for talks with North Korea. And he responds, it did not increase or decrease. Risks must always be well justified, but this is not the case when one can use the popular Russian phrase, he who doesn't take risks never drinks champagne. Primarily, this concerns Syria. We have managed to preserve Syrian statehood, no matter what, and we have prevented Libya-style chaos there. And a worst-case scenario would spell out negative consequences for Russia. When we discussed this matter only recently with the previous US administration, we said, suppose Assad steps down today, what will happen tomorrow? Your colleague did well to laugh, because the answer we got was very amusing. You cannot even imagine how funny it was. They said, we don't know. But when you do not know what happens tomorrow, why shoot from the hip today? This may sound primitive, but this is how it is. Then talking about Juan Guaido, when a person enters a square, raises his eyes to the sky and proclaims himself president, let us do the same in Japan, the US or Germany. What will happen? Do you understand that this will cause chaos all over the world? He's then asked about the Skripals. As a matter of fact, treason is the gravest crime possible and traitors must be punished, he said. I'm not saying that the Salisbury incident is the way to do it, not at all, but traitors must be punished. As concerns treason, of course, it must be punishable. It is the most despicable crime that one can imagine. You have seen many world leaders. Who do you most admire? Peter the Great. Great story by Pushkin about Peter the Great, who adopted a Moor, and Pushkin writes from the point of view of the Moor, the adopted son of Peter the Great. But he is dead. He will live as long as his cause is alive, just as the cause of each of us. We will live until our cause is alive. 17th of June, I wrote, President Xi spent his 66th birthday being fed Russian ice cream by his bestie, Vladimir in Dushanbe. Today, Trump was asked, whilst he was meeting Putin, if he'll tell the Russian president not to meddle in the election. Trump replies, of course I will, and then turns to Putin and says, don't meddle in the election. Trump has done quite well in the last few weeks to deflect this whole issue, which is a prima facie case. And I wrote about it in December 2016 under the title, We Have a Deviate Tomahawk. We copy, there's a voice, we have gross oscillation here. October 2015, when he pronounced at Ungar that he was going to intervene in Syria, I called him a geopolitical grandmaster, which he is, and you can see that in the way he's presented his argument to the Financial Times. 30th of April, touching on his point about North Korea, I asked, what security guarantees can Trump provide to Kim? Offering up bulletproof security guarantees is the equivalent of threading the needle.